Much, guys. Well, the casters are adamant Giants knew exactly what they were doing by giving up the Gnar and taking the Jax. I don't know, because we felt a little played as well, because honestly, looking at the pick and ban phase from the get-go, it didn't look so good for Giants.
No, it's a little bit weird in the start here. You give over Gnar and Lissandra, which are two of the most contested picks around at the moment, to get the LeBlanc early. Because Jax could do the Raptor though at level 2, and they didn't expect it on the side of Recent Gaming, he got the early level 2, he teleported up to the top lane and instantly just jumped to level 1 Gnar, got the advantage in the lane, actually got ahead in farm, and then suddenly the Jax pick worked out. Pantheon came in to apply the early pressure, Lulu cannot respond in time, and honestly, that early start from Jax was such a big deal.
Yeah, I do agree with Deficio, especially Giants. Yeah, sure, they may have a wonky pick and ban phase saying you see their Lissandra is open, the Gnar is open, but they had the answer. They trust in Pepinero to just a little bit mid lane 1v1. He had a gank from Rydell at one point to tilt the lane in his favor, but he managed to hold his own. So then they devoted all the jungle attention to the top lane to fix that that matchup where Gnar is favorable. On top of that, the Raptor camp. So Giant had the answers ready already from the get-go. Reason really didn't. They were playing too passive. If you look at the level 1, thing you can do a lot in this new map is shift a lot of power level 1. You can do camps for your top lane, you can leash for your jungle, or you can camps for your bot lane. And I feel Giants came a little more prepared, added more power to their level 1, and I would like Reason to see punishes because they had very little wards.
Yeah.
Everybody was literally everybody was spread around 3 camps for Giants, and that should get punished in the next game if they try to repeat that.
And this Lulu jungle pick, we haven't seen it too much. The idea basically, the casters talked about it as well, you need to have like a tanky top lane and you need to have a tanky support so they can like dive into the enemy team, and then you have the wild growth to knock people up, you have the CC. Your counter ganks are pretty good, but you can really go in and gank yourself. We saw him try a few times, he ended up dying for it. He even went into early push, either mid or top lane, at the same time again, punished. Recent Gaming in this game, they got caught out so many times, from the early game to mid game, over chasing team fights, and especially when you're against a LeBlanc and a Jax getting so many kills early on, you're just gonna get punished. Yeah,
definitely mid game was very sloppy for both teams. It felt like reminiscent of just a cat following a laser pointer up to a wall and then running straight into it, because every time they got a small lead, they wanted more, they kept chasing, overstayed, got killed, then the enemy team returned the favor by doing the exact same thing over and over. Just to touch on that Lulu one more time, she's very weak in trading 1v1 against the jungler, and you could see that in her pathing as well. Lulu never attempted to gank from behind a single time, while Pantheon could do that multiple times, and that kind of restricted the jungler, especially there, because he had to run through river, and he passed wards all the time because he was too afraid to enter the enemy jungler and find the Pantheon all of a sudden and die. And I feel that was a very limiting factor for Reason.
And that is just the whole thing about the Lulu. Again, the idea is Gnar wins his lane against Jax one-on-one. Lissandra can constantly push to mid lane, which means Pantheon can never invade on you. Because if the solo lanes are pushing and you invade into the enemy jungle, suddenly the mid lane and top lane is going to walk straight in and kill you. So that was the idea. Hey, we sit here, we push the lanes constantly. Lulu goes in for counter ganks and pushes the lane. But because Jax got the level 2, Pepinero as well in the mid lane played super aggressive, they just couldn't do it, and suddenly the Pantheon pick was stronger in the early game.
And also the question why Takefun wouldn't pick up the Lee Sin after it wasn't banned, and he loves it so much. We've been talking about the solo lanes and the jungle. Let's quickly touch on the bottom lanes as well, because, well, we frowned at seeing the Jinx picks. We know that Adri loves it. We didn't know if it would work out, and I mean, it was more the circumstances, I would say, that Reason got caught, that he got ahead and survived that mid game, maybe.
Well, I watched the waiting phase, especially there, and it was a little interesting to see what Giants did. They shared the small golem, but left the big golem entirely for Rydell, so he hit level 2 early and gave them a little bit of a push. But then suddenly they stopped pushing. I would have liked them to keep the push going, because they actually went really greedy. They went back for golems, snuck back into lane, and then they found Liebig behind them, and that actually set them back a lot. That was a 20 CS discrepancy that basically came out from them playing too greedy. Giants wanted too much, you know, they pushed up their lane.
Yeah.
Then they went for golems again, came back in the lane with no vision. Thresh went off to ward on his own, and Jinx just got caught. Could have died there. And Giants playing a little careless, and I really hope next game that gets punished a little more. From Reason's side, there's a lot of indicators where Giants are taking a little bit too much, I think, and they should be punished for it.
Final thoughts?
I mean, we have to talk about the AD carry items on both sides, to be honest, because Jinx in the lane, she cannot trade with Graves once you go into like BF sword stage from both of them, and then she has to go for static shift at that point and just push the lane, move into mid lane. Jax can then go split push, and potentially, I mean, we were discussing if LeBlanc should go split push as well, or if she should stay in the mid lane, but he can become this wave clear person instead and just sit there and farm, don't take any fights. Instead, he went straight for our Infinity Edge, kept fighting against Graves and the Alistar. That's a trade you're never going to win. And then on the other side,
The
Celor
Ghost Blade.
The
went for Ghost Blade. I mean,
Graves.
yes, you want to snowball the game, but as you, I mean, just take your point. To be
Yeah, I mean,
honest.
what we were talking about during the game itself is, yeah, Ghostblade looks really good when you're ahead because it amplifies your lead just a bit, but it stalls your like 3-item power spike and 4-item spike so much, because ideally on 3 items you want to have that Infinity Edge, you want to have either Shiva or Dancer, and then you want to top that off with the Last Whisper.
Yeah.
But if you fit that Ghostblade in there, it gets a little wonky, especially if you need to start building defensive
Exactly, and
items
he
when that
couldn't.
jet gets big, and then you're in a problem.
Yeah, maybe they can build differently. Maybe they could have had more power in the mid game if they had that. We will see in the next game. But before now, we're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back with Game 2 of Reason Gaming versus Giants.